It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
Thanks again for tuning in to ShipShape TV. I'm John Greviskis, and welcome to America's favorite boat improvement show. We've got a great program lined up for you today, and we're going to start off by changing out some fuel filters on the boat. We're going to look at some of the different types of filters that are available, as well as give you some handy tips on how to make this project a snap. Then we're going to talk teak. We're going to take a look at some of the different techniques for cleaning, brightening, oiling, and varnishing this type of wood, as well as a relatively new sealing process involving drying oil. Good stuff. Matt, what else do we have lined up?
We have the privilege of testing out one of the hot new boats on the market from a leading manufacturer. And we're going to be showing you how to properly tie up your vessel in a slip, accommodating a pretty good tidal fluctuation.
And finally, we're going to share with you some tips on how to remove some old hardware off the boat, from stripped out screws to sheared off bolts. Get ready for a bunch more great ways to make your boat shipshape.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Copcode Marine Group, makers of Pettit, Woolsey, and Z-Spar, innovators of marine coatings since 1853. And by Boaters World Discount Marine Centers, real low prices, guaranteed. And by Pennzoil Marine, formulated to protect your boat's engine and your engine warranty.
We're going to start off by changing out the fuel filters on this 1988 26-foot Intrepid. They're mounted right here on the inside of the transom for easy access. But before we change them out, I want to explain why you need fuel filters on the boat and what they do. This is the fuel line, and it runs from the gas tank to the engine. Now, if you didn't have the fuel filter in between the two, any foreign particles such as dirt, metal shavings, or water could pass straight into that engine. And if that happened, get your wallet out. You're looking at a major expense. The biggest culprit of engine trouble is water in the fuel, and how it normally gets into the system is caused by condensation. If your tank isn't 100% full at all times, you're going to have an air pocket above the fuel. It's this air pocket that will warm up during the heat of the day and cool off at night, thus forming condensation on the sides of the tank. Now, this condensation will form water droplets dripping down in the fuel. So it's always a good idea to install one of these fuel filters on the boat. Let's get started. First thing we want to do is unplug from any shore power and then turn off my battery switches. Remember, fuel's flammable, and safety first. I'm also going to wear some safety glasses. I don't want any fuel splashing me in the eye. And notice I have an absorbent rag. I'm going to put this underneath the fuel filter to catch any spills. I don't want any fuel getting down into my bilge, possibly causing pollution. And then I'm going to use this small bucket to place underneath the filter to catch any fuel. And I'll remove it using a simple oil filter wrench. There we go. This is a canister style filter. They're effective, but I like to see what's in my fuel filter at all times. So I'm going to pour this contaminated fuel into a clear glass jar to see exactly what's been in my fuel system. Do you see the water that's in the bottom of this jar? Well, water's heavier than fuel and settles to the bottom. Don't freak out. The fuel filter is doing its job. The next thing I'm going to do is wipe the mounting head of the fuel filter, and then I'll grab my new fuel filter. And I really like this kind. It has a clear glass bowl so I can visually check to see if any water's in my fuel at all times. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and dip it in some motor oil and put it on this O-ring and wipe it all the way around. This will help me seat it on the mounting head. Then I'll take some fresh, clean gas and pour the canister up to about 3/4 of the way full with fresh gas. Then I'm going to screw it on until finger tight. Then I'll take my fuel filter wrench and give it another 1/4 to 1/2 turn for an airtight seal. And the reason I like to pre-fill my fuel filter is so that the engine doesn't have to work so hard to fill it up. Then all we're going to do is start the engine and check the system for leaks. Make sure that you use a collection center like a marina or a gas station to collect your contaminated fuel. And oh yeah, don't smoke when doing this project. Now I want to get you guys acquainted with something. This is called our ShipShape TV degree of difficulty meter. And basically what it is a tachometer that we've animated with the magic of television. And how it works is if we have a project that revs out between 0 and 2,500 RPMs, it's considered easy. Any boat owner can do it. Then we have projects that rev out between 2,500 and 5,000 RPMs. The do-it-yourselfer can still accomplish these if you have the right tools and a little bit of time. And then we have the more challenging projects that rev out between 5,000 and 8,000 RPMs, and these should be left to the professionals. This particular project that we're doing today revs out at 1,500 RPMs, again meaning that any boat owner can accomplish this task.
What tool is this? Is it A, a drill bit, B, a router bit, or C, an easy out? The answer's coming up right after these messages. What tool is this? If you guess C, an easy out, you're correct. Now, an easy out really does look like some sort of a drill bit, but actually it's used to remove sheared-off bolts and screws.
Stay with us. Hi, I'm John Greviskis with ShipShape TV. Look at this guy and all the products he needs to maintain his boat. I guarantee you he'll be tripping over that stuff all day long. Forget that nonsense. Use what I use, the SureHold family of products, the one handle that does it all. Any one of these quality-built SureHold attachments easily locks right into place, and here's the best part. They're the best quality items money can buy. You have my word on it. Whether it's for your car, truck, RV, or boat, keep it ship-shape with SureHold products. Welcome back to the show. We've been showing you how to take care of your teak wood today on ShipShape TV. So far, we've shown you how to clean and brighten the wood, and then we took a look at which teak oils work best, and now we're going to show you some varnishing techniques. And man, do we get a lot of questions on this subject.
Let's take a look at some of the interior teak pieces from the Stamas. We have a dish rack, an anchor locker door, some trim pieces, and some galley accessories. Now, interior teak sure looks pretty with just a few coats of varnish on it, and we're going to start by varnishing ours, and take notice that we're using a satin varnish. Now, we don't want to use a high gloss varnish like this one on the interior pieces, especially the dish rack, because if we hit it with a plate or a bowl, it's going to leave a mar or a scuff mark. Now, on the exterior, this is truly my favorite. But remember, on the interior, be sure to use a satin. Now, before you folks at home get started, there's a few safety precautions I'd like to go over. First of all, be sure to varnish in a well-ventilated area. We don't want to do it in a closed-up garage or inside your boat with the hatches shut, because the fumes of this stuff can really get to you after a while.
You're right.
So be careful. And secondly, if you can't remove the pieces from the interior of your vessel, be sure to use a good non-porous masking tape, because if you skimp on the cheap stuff here and you buy the porous masking tape, the varnish is going to seep right through and leave an ugly stain on your fiberglass, possibly ruining it. Not a good idea.
Good point. You want to use several thin coats of varnish, making sure that in between each coat it thoroughly dries and then is lightly sanded with either 220 or 280 grit sandpaper. Then clean the surface with a tack rag to pick up any dust and apply your next thin coat. Take a look at this piece. 11 thin coats, and man, I gotta tell you, she sure is pretty. I also need to tell you why I had to put 11 thin coats on this piece of wood. Do you remember being in your physics class and the teacher was talking about a physical law called coefficient of expansion? Well, to put that into layman's terms, that's the rate that a material will expand or contract due to temperature changes. You know the cracks that they cut in the sidewalks? Well, that's to keep the sidewalk from cracking in on itself, and you have the same thing that goes on with your wood. Now, your varnish will expand and contract at a rate much less than that of your teak. So what'll happen is if you put 1 or 2 thick coats of varnish on, it's going to start cracking and chipping. So instead, put a bunch of thin coats on. Your first coat is going to go on, there's going to be some spider cracking and chipping, but your second coat will hide the flaws of the first, and your third coat will hide the flaws of the second, and so on and so on.
Or you can avoid the hassle of oiling and varnishing altogether by using something called a drying oil. Now again, the base is a tung oil, but it has some drying agents mixed in, similar to those found in stains. Now you can achieve different looks of your teak by using different blends of these drying oils. You can use either a natural light, which gives it a blonde or natural look, or you can use something like this classic teak, which will give it a freshly oiled look. But the best thing about this stuff is that it only once a year needs a fresh touch-up coat. There's no sanding, no stripping, no problems.
The tools and materials needed for teak care are a good quality teak detergent, a soft brush or a Scotch-Brite pad, teak brightener, sandpaper, either a good quality tung oil, varnish, or drying oil, brushes, rags, and a non-porous masking tape to protect your gel coat. Using the ship-shape TV degree of difficulty meter, taking care of your teak would rev up between 2,500 and 4,500 RPMs, depending on the preparation and the finish you desire. This means that most do-it-yourselfers can accomplish this task. Now, if you're in the market for a new boat, you're gonna love this vessel. John, tell us about it.
This is the new 1998 Stamas 290 Tarpon, and if you're looking for a top-of-the-line diving, fishing, or family fun boat, this is a must-see. Stamas is a family-owned business since 1952, well-respected in Florida as well as throughout the world. Superior craftsmanship is the name of the game here. Each hull begins with an isophthalic blend of gel coat. Then a skin coat is applied using a vinyl ester resin applied in mold to help prevent blisters, and that's a good thing because traditionally boats of this size are kept in the water. From there, layups of matte 24-ounce Roven and additional layers are applied to the stringers, keel, and at high stress points. I had the opportunity to meet with Mike Kerrigan, the national sales manager, who gave me the inside scoop on why so many people are considering the 290.
To put it in layman's terms, John, our boats are built like tanks. The 290 Tarpon has 6 full-length stringers in the bottom of the boat. The stringers are encapsulated and reinforced from chine to chine. The reason we use wood is because wood is the best. Wood is the strongest, it kills engine vibration, and it absorbs shock.
The boat has a lot of creature comforts. It has forward seating and a huge head in the center console. The incredible 10'4" beam allows for great deck space that's made up of numerous high-quality floor hatches that reveal spacious storage compartments. The walk-through transom door allows easy access to the integrated engine bracket and dive platform. There's plenty of insulated cooler space in addition to the freshwater sink. I was also very impressed with the super high quality of the stainless accessories.
The boat can also be set up to fish comfortably. From the standard dual live wells to the huge insulated fish boxes, this boat raises fish. Behind this well thought out command center, you have a very functional bait prep station. She even comes with a built-in incline multi-drawer tackle center. Matt, how'd you ride offshore?
Unbelievable. The 51-degree entry at the bow and the 19-degree dead rise at the stern make this modified V a vessel with exceptional soft landings and a smooth, solid ride. This boat can keep up with any deep V, but the neat thing about this boat is while at rest, you're comfortable, not rocking and rolling. The boat backed down nicely with no water coming into the cockpit, responded exceptionally well during our rotation tests, and held a smooth track throughout our high-speed maneuvering tests. This is a seaworthy boat.
It's an absolute must that everybody ride the 290 Tarpon hull. Is a true performer, performs like no other boat on the water today, with true quality and assurance that your family will be safe when going out.
The boat we tested was powered by twin 1998 Yamaha 250 EFI engines. We hooked up our portable flow scan to check fuel burn, and it wasn't bad. At 3,300 RPM, she burned 20 gallons an hour at her 33-mile-per-hour cruise. Top speed was 48 miles per hour, and with the 302-gallon fuel tank, she has a cruising range of about 500 nautical miles. Matt, any downsides to the boat?
Not many, John. You give up a little fuel economy due to the weight of the hull, but factor into that the structural integrity, and it more than makes up for it. Personally, I like a well-built boat in heavy seas. The only other concern was the typical messy Yamaha wiring harness that could have been secured a little better.
On a rating scale of 1 to 5 props, John and Matt rate this boat a high 4-prop vessel, making the 1998 Stamas 290 Tarpon a must-see in the 29-foot size range. Now stay with us. Up next, the guys are going to show us how to remove stubborn hardware. And wait till you see what's inside the ship-shaped TV cool new product cooler this week. We'll be right back. You're watching ShipShape TV, and the following operational technique is being brought to you by Pennzoil Marine, a new wave of protection, formulated to protect your boat's engine and your engine warranty.
Today we're going to show you how to tie your boat up in a slip, but we're going to do one better. For those of you who live along the coast, we're going to show you how to deal with tidal fluctuations. Now I like to use 6 lines when tying up my boat. 2 bow lines, 2 spring lines, and 2 stern lines. The first thing I like to do is attach the spring line. It enables me to control the boat from a central point and keep the boat from going too far in or out of the slip. Next, I like to tie off my bow lines. What I'm looking for here is enough slack in the line to accommodate the tidal fluctuation, but I want to make sure the lines are short enough to keep me in the center of the slip.
We're down here in Florida where the tidal fluctuation is 3 feet. If you live in Nova Scotia, it's about 16 feet, and if you live inland around the Great Lakes, there's little or no tidal change.
Now, if you have an inboard engine or an inboard outboard, I recommend crossing your stern lines. This will give you more leverage to keep your boat centered in the slip.
And again, you want to have enough slack in the line to accommodate the tidal change.
Now, the last line I want to attach is my spring line, and it's reverse of my first spring line to keep my vessel from moving too far in or out of the slip. And if you're not quite sure how to tie up your boat, don't be afraid to ask for help. It just might save your boat.
Remember, boating's easy and it's fun because you can do it.
The preceding operational technique has been brought to you by Pennzoil Marine, a new wave of protection, formulated to protect your boat's engine and your engine warranty.
Well, here we are back at our home base Seminole Boatyard, and the next thing we want to show you how to do is remove some old hardware off of this classic 1966 20-foot Bertram moppy, and we're going to start by removing the rub rail. What I'm using here is a cordless drill and a number 2 Phillips bit. Uh-oh, I've got a stripped out screw here. And what I need to do, instead of force the rub rail and force this thing out of the hull, I can damage the fiberglass that way, is I want to use a titanium drill bit about the same size as the shaft of the screw and go ahead and drill out the head. This will allow me to remove the rub rail and then come back with a pair of vice grips and grab the shaft and back it on out.
Now, what I'm doing here is I'm removing some of the through-bolted hardware, and it's always a real good idea to use some type of penetrating lubricant on the nuts and threads before you try removing this. Remember, most of this stuff's been on here since 1966. What I'm doing here is I'm drilling out rivets. I'm using a drill bit that's just slightly larger than the center diameter of the rivet, so as I'm cutting through, I'll release the fastening part of the rivet.
I want to show you guys something. If you ever get into a situation where you have a sheared off bolt and you needed to get it out, this is a pretty cool thing. You want to take a center punch and strike the center of the bolt. Next, what you're going to do is take a titanium drill bit and drill through the center of the bolt down about 3/8 of an inch. Then you want to take this little doohickey, and it's called an easy out, and you want to tap it into the hole and then take an adjustable crescent wrench. Cheesecake.
Using the ShipShape TV degree of difficulty meter, this project revs out to be 3,500 RPMs. You'll need the right tools, but after that, it's pretty easy.
Welcome back to the show. The Bertram's looking a little bit naked with most of the hardware removed. We showed you how to change out fuel filters today on ShipShape TV. Matt, give us a quick review.
Use an oil filter wrench to loosen the canister. Don't spill any fuel down in the bilge. Dispose of your contaminated fuel properly, and be careful, fuel's flammable.
Good stuff. How do we take care of our teak around the boat?
Order the video. Ask for show 301, and you can contact us on the World Wide Web at shipshapetv.com or call us on a landline at area code 561-626-1439.
And if you're removing any old hardware off the boat, make sure that you go ahead and label all of your pieces and your wiring so when it goes to put them back on, you'll know where they go. We've got a second left, and I want to show you something that's coming out of our now famous ShipShape TV cool new product cooler. And when I was down at Starbright gathering some of the materials for cleaning the teak, Jeff Teaker showed me something else, and
Hey,
it blew me
all right.
away, Matt.
All
This
right.
is called liquid electrical tape. And this is pretty awesome stuff. Where do you use this around the boat?
Any place that you'd think you're using electrical tape, and a lot of places that you wouldn't think of using electrical tape, like the backs of switches, ground blocks, fuse blocks, new wiring harnesses.
Unbelievable. The retail price is $6.95 and it's available in most of the major marine centers. Or if you want to find out where it's available in your neighborhood, go ahead and give us a call here at ShipShape TV. We'll be glad to tell you. Well, we're about out of time. So until next week, guys,
Keep your boat shipshape.